What are you doing here?
Hey guys, welcome back to Shredcraft RC. I'm Cam, and today we are gonna be installing the new aluminum bell crank from ReveD here. Sorry, I already took off the tag there. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is take off the old bell crank here. So I'll probably rip all this stuff off. I'm gonna go ahead and take all that off. I will get some shots once we swap the bearings out on the aluminum, because I want to see if there's any physical difference between the aluminum cranks and the plastic cranks, so to see if it's going to change our alignment. And then I was reading on the RDX page on Facebook about some guys that are running their tow arm at the outside hole, so maybe we'll play with a little more caster. I don't know if I will. The car was driving real well last time I drove it, so let's see if there's any difference here with the new ReveD aluminum bell crank here going on the ReveD RDX. So stay tuned and I'll get to wrenching. Alright, so I got the old bell crank disassembled, started transferring over the bearings from the plastic kit to the aluminum, and looking at these pieces, they all look relatively the same as far as geometry and spacing. The bell crank, and let's see if we can see this, these holes, they may have a more mellow, less dramatic angle than the aluminum. I know it's hard to see, I'm trying to hold these one-handed, but maybe a slightly different hold, maybe not, maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. But as far as dimension, everything is the same, judging by eye. I didn't put any calipers on anything, but going by my eye, everything is the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish transferring over the bearings here, make sure I have it shimmed properly, because one or two might have fallen out when I was taking that apart. And then I will get it back put on the chassis, and I'll show you what it looks like before we get that top arm deck mounted back on. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at the steering geometry, because I do have the aluminum knuckles on there as well, so we'll see if there's any improvement or anything to the caster. I'm not sure yet, but I'm not expecting it to be a dramatic change to how the alignment was set up. So I'm gonna go ahead, get these bearings swapped, and I'll get back to you with the next clip. All right, not sure if you could see that or not, but there it is, installed. And you just want to make sure when you're putting any sort of bell crank or slide rack or DDS in any drift car, you want this to be as free moving as possible. So I'm barely touching that, and it is moving freely. So you don't want any binding, because this is what's directly connected to your servo here, and that is what is going to help give you the most accurate steering feel. So I guess one of the benefits of going to aluminum over plastic, I know some people were asking when I put a photo up, but the plastic, you know, it's just a softer material than aluminum, so it's gonna flex, and it probably could save your steering if you hit a wall real hard. It's gonna forgive more. Lighter, that is one thing I did not do, is weigh the two to compare them. But your aluminum is going to be more rigid, so it probably will give you a more direct feel. Not like these cars are heavy enough to be bending these under steering force. Now if you're binding up, or let's say you had your servo horn on the wrong tooth angle and you turned the car on and it just shot the steering over, this is going to bend more than these. These will probably break something out in your linkage or a tow arm if something like that were to happen. But you know, people who are investing in their cars that much aren't going to be making those types of mistakes, I'd say. Yes, it's expensive, in my opinion. Kind of goes with all the aluminum hop-ups that are coming out for the RDX. I don't think I'm going to change my caster angle. If you could see this, I have my spacer in front of the arm, and then just a tiny shim just to tighten up the movement in the arm, so there's no slack really. We'll get this button up and we'll take a look at the Ackerman angle and geometry and just see if everything's kind of the same as it was with the old plastic. So I'll get these bolted on, be right back. I got everything back installed here. I even went ahead and added a little bit of weight here inside the knuckle. I saw some other guys do that, so I just wanted to try it and see what it would do. As far as the Ackerman goes, it looks pretty similar to how I had it set up, and I didn't throw it on the rack or anything, but to me, I'm pretty confident that there's not a lot of geometry change there. So there's lock to lock, almost. Let's see if I get a better angle here. So there to there, still with the 4mm stoppers. And then under the tire, let's see, flat is right about there. So overall, looks like it's good. If I have trouble driving it, then I'll throw it on the rack. I just don't want to take the time right now to set up the entire rack just to check something when the bell crank had the same geometry as the plastic one. I know some people on the page were saying that maybe there were some differences, but I'm assuming it probably has to do with the slide rack here itself, or bell crank mount there for the tow arm. So maybe I'll play with spacers, but I know it's going to be hard to see on camera. That arm isn't going to bind up in any way. I could probably push it out more to increase the point on that wheel, but if you look at it to where the shock is, it's a pretty parallel Ackerman at full lock. So I'll go ahead and test drive this and give my thoughts probably at the end of this video, I think, because I should incorporate that, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to the track this week. We'll see. It's the holidays, you know, so play it by ear. So this video may be a little late. If not, I have a few more videos. I'm getting back into the 1/10 crawlers, so I got a fun build coming up that I'm keeping under wraps until I have all the parts. It's gonna take a little while to get all the parts, but that stuff's coming up. Yeah, so let's go drive this, give you my thoughts on the drift car, and get back to you. All right, just got back from the track after testing out the aluminum bell crank here on the RDX, and I do want to say that it did drive a lot better. Like, maybe not a lot better. The car was more responsive and maybe more forgiving on the remote than the plastic. The steering felt more direct, and I could definitely put the car right where I wanted it. I did play around with some other changes in the rear on the tow arms, but I ended up going back to the stock mounting locations just because that is what feels best to me. I did put the ESC back in the middle, and overall I really like how the car feels. It's consistent and feels really direct. It's definitely a lot of fun to drive, so not really going to make any other changes on the chassis right now, maybe until some other aluminum parts come out. But on the next video, I wanted to give a buddy a shout out here. This is Mark from Mile High RC, and he made the Formula Drift or FD lights for your windshield. So these lights will go on the windshield here inside, and then they have calibration for throttle and brake, so or acceleration and deceleration, just like the real Formula Drift cars. So I thought that was a cool little addition that he gave me to test out. So if he has a link, I'll put that in the description, and then you guys could get your own FD light kit. But that'll be the next video. I'll wire these up, get them all set up, and then see what they look like and test them out on the track. So hope you guys like this video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. See ya.